playing games, no, no. What's my name? Said, what's my name?
ShakaShine.
Okay.
ShakaShine.
What's goody, fam? You already know who it is. It's ShakaShine, and I'm coming back at it with another reaction on ShakaShine Reacts. Today, I gotta give a big old shout out to Travis, and their request was Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and this is a courtship of rivals basketball. Now, for the people that have been hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and hitting that comment button, you know me, this is a channel that giving credit when credit's due, and y'all deserve all the credit, so I gotta say thank you. I truly appreciate every single one of y'all. With that being said, for the people that are waiting on their requests, as you can see, we get into every single one of y'all. If I said to put on the list, it's on the list and it's coming up. But you can always skip the line by hitting me with a donation. Again, links right underneath the like button, and I'll make sure I get your reaction out within 72 hours. Now, as far as Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, this is going to be a part one. I'm not sure how many parts we're going to have as of right now, but this is such a long reaction that I'm definitely going to have to split it into parts. So if this is your first time seeing one of my Magic Johnson or Larry Bird reactions, make sure you check out those sports playlists. We have a ton of Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, than just sport reactions. So check it out. And if you're coming back for another one, then let's get straight to it.
They talk about it every day, somewhere. If I go to a foreign country, magic, what magic? I mean, it's the same everywhere.
I bet. Oh, geez. Their kid photos cute as hell. Let's go.
We don't have to see each other. We don't have to say hello. We don't have to call each other.
That's my main competition. It's always been like that.
And if you guys don't know, we've done a lot of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson reactions, like I said, and that's just facts. Again, if you need some backgrounds, make sure you check out the whole playlist of sports stuff, because you will get a lot of background of Magic Johnson and especially Larry Bird.
You know you got this tight bond with this cat, and you don't have to see him for a year or two.
Do any of y'all have that kind of bond with somebody? Put it in the comments. Let me know. I definitely have a few bonds like that.
But you're always going to be linked to him.
Always.
We got this connection, it's never going to be broken. I mean, right to our graves.
Yeah.
They'll be talking about this 100 years from now.
They probably will. That's the crazy part. Magic and Bird. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. Like I said, part one. Let's get straight into it.
It all began here in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay.
On the night of March 26, 1979. It was the NCAA championship. Indiana State versus Michigan State. A game that still ranks as the highest rated college final ever on television. A game that's now
Still. That's crazy. Let's go.
is a prologue to a rivalry that transformed a sport and intertwined two legacies.
Yeah.
But
and it's always crazy to think of, like, so much things had to have happened for this to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many things that Magic had to do to get to the point where he was, and Larry had to do to get to the point where he was. And then without them doing each step, we might not have had the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson magic that we have now. Crazy.
that night, March 26, 1979, the first time Magic Johnson and Larry Bird ever went head-to-head on a basketball court. They were simply two young men trying to win a very big ball game.
Well, this is probably the biggest game I'll ever play in my life, and I just feel like, you know, I'm representing not only myself, my team, but we're representing our school and our town, Terre Haute.
Well, it's a dream come true, really, for me. I won the state title back in my home state, and then my next accomplishment was going to the NCAA and playing in a game like tonight in the finals.
They were
Let's
two
go.
stars thrown together by the cosmos to compete. But only one of them had been groomed for the spotlight. In his case, it seemed since birth.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay. Let's see what they got to say.
I think his upbringing in East Lansing really put that smile on his face in the beginning, and it never came off.
Born August 14th, 1959, Irvin Johnson grew up in Lansing, the gritty industrial capital city of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Raised under this little roof, he was one of Christine and Irvin.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. That roof did not look that little.
City of Michigan.
I mean, that's a big house. I mean, maybe not compared to what he lives in now, but I don't think that I've lived in a house that big, personally. So them saying that that's a little roof, that's just crazy to me.
Raised under this little roof, he was one of Christine and Irvin Johnson Sr.'s 10 kids. Christine
10
was a
kids?
school custodian,
Ooh.
while Irvin Sr. worked 2 jobs nearly around the clock.
My father, he got up early every morning, 6 o'clock or so, and he went to work on his trash hauling truck every single day. Around noon, he would come home, catch a nap, and then he worked for General Motors for 30 years. And he won an award for never being late and never missed a day.
Crazy.
As a youngster, Irvin displayed his own strong work ethic on the blacktop.
I was out there all day long. Before we went to school, the bus leave at 7:30. I was out there at 6:30 working on my game. My mother sometimes had to bring me food, or she would have one of my brothers and sisters go get that boy so he could eat something.
I will say, hey, that is what it takes, though. A lot of people don't understand. Like, they think that people are just good. Like, don't get me wrong, you do have natural talent, but you still got to work on it on top of that, so.
From a very young age, Irvin knew what he wanted to do. He had it all planned out.
My dreams were to play in the NBA and become a businessman.
The first neighborhood basketball powerhouse, Sexton High.
I knew the players, I knew the tradition. I wanted to be a part of that. And it was on the west side of town, which was, at that time, predominantly black.
But when Lansing, like many cities in the mid-70s, began busing to desegregate its school system, Irvin's journey took an unexpected detour to a predominantly white school across town.
My first day at Everett High School was my first time I really had to understand there was a race problem. Nobody white would speak to anybody black, and nobody black would speak to anybody white.
A lot of
So sad. So sad.
attention, a lot of fights, rioting. They didn't.
And this is what's crazy is a lot of people think that so much of this stuff was so long ago that it really wasn't. Like, it really was. Magic went to a school that was segregated, and he didn't go to a non-segregated school till his high school year. He's still alive right now. So it's not that far. Not that far off.
want
Crazy.
minorities there.
He kind of shrugged it off, and basically his attitude was, okay, well, I'll overcome this.
Whenever there was any racial problems, the principal would get Irvin and go talk to these kids. I can just see him with his big hands. Calm down, just calm down. He'd break up fights.
With his
Talk
big
with
hands.
his friends, tell him, let it go. We can't fight about everything. Let's just chill. Let's play basketball.
And there was no dispute over Irvin Johnson's ability to play ball. His talent was so great that soon after his varsity debut, a local reporter, dazzled by his exploits, gave the budding star a nickname.
In the beginning, I
And it's stuck.
thought it was foolish and dumb. I didn't know nothing about a nickname. Then what happened was, you start saying, wait a minute, it fits my game. Hanging out with my boys on the street corners, we used to sing Temptation songs. They started saying, hey man, Magic, that's cool. And then people on the street started saying, hey Magic. And I said,
He started to embrace that a little bit.
He bought into it, and I think he felt he had to kind of live up to that name. And I must say that he did.
He loved.
And of course, again, he lived up to that status all the way, I feel like, until today. I mean, even, I'm sure he's going to live it tomorrow, the next day, all the way until he passes, because Magic has made history, for sure.
The more attention he got, you know, he wanted attention from anybody he could get it from.
Yeah, it does. I really love the game, and I just want to win.
It's so funny too, because people that really grew up during the 60s and 70s just have a way of speaking, I feel like, back then that's just a little bit different than it is today, and I mess with it heavy.
Irvin loved to dress. Nice sandal belt pants and overcoats with the fur around the collar. Always had to have his afro blown out. He had to look the part, play the part.
Irvin was the first guy to have a posse.
Wait, what, in the crew? Like in your school? Because there's been posses forever. So, I mean, I kind of need to know what you mean by that, G.
He not only had a posse of a lot of black kids, he had a lot of white kids and hanging around him.
Some of my white friends was like, hey man, we're having a kegger tonight, won't you come on by? And I'm saying, what's a kegger?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, well, what it is, we get this big keg of beer and you just go for it. Okay, well what time does the...
Well, he seems, I mean, I know he's standing on something, but even with the regular pictures, he seems so big, just so big.
Kegger start, because regular party time in our neighborhood is 10, 11 o'clock. The kegger starts at 7. I said, the party starts at 7 o'clock? I said, okay, man, I'm going to come to the kegger. We had a good time. The music was kind of bad, but we had a good time.
His senior year, Johnson did at Everett what he had planned to do at Sexton, win the state championship.
Let's go.
And when it came to choosing a college, he decided to stay where the love would be assured, home in Lansing.
Next year, I will be attending Michigan State University.
Let's
At
go.
MSU, Magic's star quickly went national. But atop the college game, he soon discovered a certain presence beside him.
The legendary Larry Bird. You know
The first time I saw Larry Bird was actually in a magazine. Saw his stats, blown away by his stats. But let's see if he can really do it against us. And that's always a mindset of black players if he's a great white player.
Yeah.
In 1978, after his freshman year, Magic would quickly find out, when both he and Bird were chosen to play for Team USA in the World Invitational Tournament.
They would put Larry Bird and I on the same team together to scrimmage, right? It was blowing my mind because he's dominating Jack Givens, Player of the Year in college basketball. Larry Bird is eating him alive.
Let's go.
I couldn't wait.
That's what I like to hear.
To call home to tell my boys, man, this dude named Larry Bird is for real. This is the baddest white dude I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I thought he was very good. There's no question about it. I thought he was probably the best guard on the team.
Irvin Johnson, look at that. Oh!
We didn't get to play a lot, but you could tell.
I think our first game was in Kentucky. We got about a 10, 12-point lead.
Let's go.
Man, they put us in. Went to 25, 30, just that fast.
Let's
Fast
go.
break again, 3-on-2. Griffin. And that steal by Larry Bird.
Take us out, the lead go back down, put us back in.
That's Bird and Johnson.
The show started again.
When you play with Magic, there's just something about it. You want to make that extra pass. You want to get that rebound and start to break.
We came down a couple times. I go behind my back, no look to him, he no look back to me, and I'm laying it up. I'm saying, oh man.
That last play, Magic Johnson going in, drops off the Bird. Bird puts it back off inside to Johnson. Super.
Clean.
This guy got game.
Yeah, you do.
They had some wonderful moments on the court, but they probably spoke to each other 4, maybe 5 times during that entire time period.
Jeez.
And it was more like, hello, how are you this morning, Larry? I'm good, Magic. What'd you have for breakfast? Don't remember. Have a nice day.
But such curtness was hardly strange coming from Larry Bird, who was not only one of college basketball's best players, but also its biggest enigma.
I think he was a mystery to the extent that he wanted to be a mystery. He didn't enjoy doing interviews. He didn't go out of his way to do them. He wasn't particularly good at them. He was kind of like, hey, this is who I am. You want to know who I am? Watch the game.
Yep, watch me play.
I start to read materials that you're very quiet and you don't enjoy talking to newspaper people.
Well, you know, there's different kind of newspaper people. There's people that try to push you. You know, there's people try to get things out of you.
Yeah.
Things that don't even pertain to basketball.
Exactly.
And they're the type of people I like to stay away from.
He didn't want people talking about his family. He didn't want his mother to have to deal with that or his siblings to have to deal with that.
You got to remember where Larry came from. You know, Larry was raised in a 2 or 3.
See, now that's a smaller roof that I was thinking. When someone says a small roof, that's more of the roof that I'm thinking of.
House on a railroad track. Their family probably lived on $50 a week. He was raised tough.
Larry Joe Bird grew up in southern Indiana, in the twin towns of French Lick and West Baden. The Valley, as locals call it, was a tough working-class area. Tiny and remote, it was one of the poorest places in the state.
I didn't know that people made millions of dollars. I didn't know that everybody had a family car. I was in my own cocoon. I was in a small town with the people I knew, and I thought I would live there for the rest of my life.
Arriving Pearl Harbor Day 1956, Larry was the 4th of 6 kids born to Georgia and Joe Bird. Early on, he and his older brothers earned a reputation around the valley.
We were always considered troublemakers. We were either fighting amongst ourselves or there was always one of us fighting somebody. Larry was always one that kind of instigated things, you know.
I get my brother in a fight with somebody.
Of course he did.
Somebody his age, I was happy as hell because I like to see him get beat up, and that's just the way it was. If I got in a scrape with some kid and my brothers didn't come to my side, they knew that when he got home, my dad was going to whip him.
Larry and my dad were best of friends. They done everything together. When my dad would go out to my grandma's house, Larry would always go with him. They'd go fishing, do a lot of things together.
But Joe Bird also had a darker side, stemming from a traumatic tour of duty in Korea.
Oh, no.
Larry remembers waking up in the middle of the night hearing his father's blood-curdling screams from the nightmares he had had from the war. What happened to his father in the war affected his entire life. He was never able to quite get rid of whatever those demons were.
Well, that's because, man, when you're in the army and you actually are in war, I don't think that people are really meant to experience that, in my personal opinion, but it is what it is. It's messed up.
A talented craftsman, Joe Bird struggled to hold steady jobs. And even when he was working, his demons would, on occasion, drive him to the bottle.
There were times when Joe went out with the guys and had a few beers and the wages didn't come home that night. And that didn't happen every day. It happened once in a while, but when money is as tight as it was for the Birds, once in a while was a major problem for their family.
I bet.
My mom sometimes worked late and sometimes she had 2 jobs, but that's the way it was. I worked at school during my lunch hours, worked at the local grocery store, put up hay in the summer. I mean, if you wanted money, you had to get it on your own.
Yeah.
To young Larry,
that's pretty much a lot of how I was raised too.
Actions spoke louder than words.
He was very quiet, kind of hung to himself a little bit.
I saw Larry take an F in an English class because he had to get up in front of his peers and give a speech. So I won't do it. But he just could not get up in front of his friends and talk. He was that shy.
Of course, next thing you know, when he knew it was time for all of us together at the gymnasium, there he'd be. the minute he'd get a basketball in his hand, things were totally different.
I bet.
Basketball was just, it came to me, seemed like easy. I didn't have the quickness, I didn't have jumping ability. I just thought the game out.
By his senior year at Springs Valley High, Larry Bird had sprouted into a star. But Bird was from the Valley, hardly a hotbed of talent in the big-time world of Indiana hoops.
Yeah.
The first thing they say, well, they don't play nobody down there. He's from French Lick. They don't play nobody.
I think that put a chip on his shoulder, always having to prove who he was and how good he was.
Yeah.
He was good,
and he had to for a very, very long time, which is extremely sad. You know what I'm saying? And that's more not just where he's from, but the racism that's going on at the time, because like everyone, just the black players were just better. They were known to be better at the time. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people wouldn't believe that he's as good as he really is. That's ridiculous to me. Don't judge a book by its cover, ever.
Enough for Indiana University's Bobby Knight to come calling late his senior year. And folks in the Valley couldn't have been prouder. Their local hero was heading 60 miles north to play ball for one of the best college teams in the land.
Once I got to IU, it didn't take long to realize that I was out of my cocoon, had over 30-some thousand students, that I didn't have the funds. First week and a half, I thought, man, this ain't gonna work.
He left after 24 days.
Yeah.
Let my mother down. She didn't talk to me for 2 months. But it didn't matter what other people said. To this day, I don't care.
Back in French Lick, Bird took to working for the city, hauling trash and painting park benches. Meanwhile, by that winter, his father's demons had taken him to an even darker place.
No.
By this point, Joe and Georgia were divorced, and he was behind in his payments to the family. The police came by, and of course they all knew him. So Joe said, hey, I need a few hours to get my affairs together before you take me away. So he called Georgia and he said, you guys will be better off without me, and I'm gonna take my life. And he put the phone down and he killed himself. He shot himself.
Sad. That's super sad.
When Dad passed, you know, it hurt Larry. I mean, that was his best friend. He's gone now. But Larry didn't show it a lot.
He just didn't say much. You know, he just kind of held it within. I never heard him speak out about it at all.
Crazy.
I was mad when I heard about it, and I was madder after the funeral because I thought he sort of cut out on us during a tough time. But you know, he went through a lot in his life. He did what he had to do.
All right, so that is part 1 of this. Make sure you guys stick around because we will have part 2 coming out very soon. Either way, I will have to say that, man, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird's relationship is one for the books, for sure. It's definitely one for the books. I am definitely learning more than I even knew about Larry for sure right now. So I hope that you guys are too, and I hope you stick around for part 2. Let me know anything that you think that I should mention more or anything like that. And if you're making it this far, you might as well hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that comment button. Let me know your favorite game or part of Larry Bird and or Magic Johnson, and what else you want to see me react to. If you're already doing that and making it this far, then I gotta say thank you. I truly appreciate every single one of y'all. Again, please make sure you check out the rest of the sports playlist. We have a ton of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and just other sports reactions. So check it out. With all that being said, you know I'll be back at it with another reaction tomorrow.